Oh, dude, he's even got little pincers. See the little teeth?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
He's absolutely goated, and I'm going to explain why. First off, Killer Moth is pretty much the biggest struggler in DC Comics. He's always just been a guy that's longed to be noticed, but no matter the effort put in, he was always a screw-up. I also really love his aesthetic, and a lot of other people do as well. I remember liking the character as soon as I saw him in Lego Batman.
Yeah,
That's when we
he's
saw
just
him.
like me. Yeah, I liked Killer Moth in the Lego games. He left an impression.
And I remember wanting to know everything about the character. This bumbling buffoon that takes on the characteristics of a moth has always been interesting to me, so I figured I'd give a brief summarization of his history so that if y'all like him too, you can just watch this vid to get the gist on who he is and some significant things he's done. Although the list is incredibly short because he's never really done anything too crazy, only ever really in the background to serve other villains' stories. But that's another reason why I mess with Killer Moth, because he's one of the most underrated Batman villains in his entire rogues gallery. I'd say
Dude, they used him in Teen Titans, so that was Killer Moth, and Killer Moth's daughter.
So he's gonna be like Scorpion.
I was thinking Kite Man from,
Oh man, they didn't make a show of Killer Moth, dude.
Yeah, they could definitely use him as a joke villain, like, why not?
Drury Walker was in essence a pretty shitty criminal that was known all over Gotham to be otherwise extremely unreliable for literally anything. Batman himself even says that Killer Moth was never very good at being a career criminal. Hell, the whole Bat family collectively
Batman called him a bitch. So even in the comic book department, he's not that guy.
shits on him on a daily basis. Tim Drake thinks of Killer Moth as a real lightweight, Dick Grayson thinks he's a loser with a glass jaw, and Batgirl always thought that Killer Moth was always just a crazy, stupid goofball who flew too close to the light. But the thing that made me feel bad about Killer Moth the most was when Batman pretty much said that when Killer Moth breaks out of Arkham or Blackgate, he doesn't even bother tracking him down, believing the police are skilled enough to handle him whenever he surfaces themselves. The reason
Oh,
what a
he's that down
disrespect.
bad?
What a
Dude, at least
disrespect, my
Scorpion
boy.
was taking people
Dude,
down.
Firefly, does Firefly get the respect, Batman? What the fuck?
I find that a little sad is because Walker legit inspired his entire Killer Moth persona off of Batman to be the anti-Batman. Bro even went the extra mile of making a moth cave, a cocoon gun, the Mothmobile, and his very own moth signal. Topping it all off with creating the billionaire playboy persona called Cameron Van Clear and owning his very own moth mansion. Now, you may ask yourself,
He's a fucking millionaire? That's fucking
Dude,
wild.
I didn't know that at all.
They
so-
just wanted to be the bad version of Batman, but he didn't have any of
Dude,
the skill.
why don't they
Dude,
make
this
him
is a free character.
in a movie? Yeah.
They're jokes, dude.
They're just
you can cast him as...
comic relief.
Dude, you go grab Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds.
You go grab
Fuck
Ryan Reynolds.
yes.
And then fuck around with him and Batman. And all he does is sit there. I'm Batman, bro.
Dude, just imagine him. He knows he's Bruce Wayne. Him just fucking around with Bruce Wayne.
Okay,
yeah.
but you don't know my secret identity either.
Dude, if Batman knew his secret identity and he knew his secret identity and they were bros, that would be hilarious.
That would be, dude, a redeeming moment. You can fix him. I can fix him.
how did Killer Moth fund all of this? Given I just told all of you that he is the worst criminal in Gotham. Well, he actually stole a ton of money from several gangs and created several loans at different banks he could never possibly pay back to fund his supervillain career. Racking up an immeasurable amount of debt, the federal government and the Gotham County Sheriff's Department then foreclosed on the Moth Mansion due to Killer Moth refusing to pay his property
Not a millionaire.
He was.
He was a fake one.
He was.
taxes. And Killer Moth subsequently lost everything before he even begun his career as a supervillain. Seeing no way out, he delved further into the Killer Moth persona and first attempted to be a hired supervillain that'd help bank robbers and so on, as long as he had a cut of their take, but would usually end up caught by Batman before he could finish the job. It wasn't until a couple years later that Killer Moth had an epiphany and came up with the plan to extort protection money from the same Gotham millionaires he'd once socialized with as Cameron Van Clear. And if they didn't accept his proposal, Killer Moth would brutally assault them. Eventually, Killer Moth worked his way up to Bruce Wayne and left a letter for Bruce demanding $100,000. But after Bruce Wayne pretty much laughed at Killer Moth's threat, Killer Moth attempted to
He actually laughed at his fucking ass. That's fucked up.
assassinate Bruce Wayne, but was stopped by Batgirl. After his assassination attempt was thwarted by Batgirl, word quickly spread all over Gotham that Killer Moth was just a joke. And no matter what Killer Moth attempted to do, whether it be assembling a ragtag team of villains with the likes of Ratcatcher, Victor Zsasz, Solomon Grundy, and Firefly to fight off Gotham's heroes, or being a hired gun, or turning into an actual fucking moth, Killer Moth never got a second glance and continues to grow more and more irrelevant with each passing day, continuously fading into obscurity. But maybe it isn't such a bad thing for Killer Moth at the end of the day. Because in one of my favorite short stories...
Nah, dude, no, I want him now. I want him in
I want him in a movie, in
now.
a storyline where he hangs out with Bruce being a fake millionaire.
Dude, he literally is there for the love of the game. He wanted to be a supervillain, just like any of these random, like, Despicable Me level shit.
That's awesome, and he deserves his own show just because of that.
Yeah, he deserves to at least be in a movie. He deserves to be
dude,
put
they
in live
could do
action.
the-
Please, I need this now. There's just some random villains that never get the spotlight, but I would love for him to get one. Because he's so fucking
Dude,
funny.
Kite Man got it, but Killer Moth ain't gonna get it.
How you gonna get Batman to laugh straight at your face? Motherfucker never cracks a smile.
Because in one of my favorite short stories about Killer Moth, after all the brutal fights with Batman, we follow a Killer Moth now just trying to get by in life. In the comic Gotham City Villains Anniversary, Killer Moth in the beginning thinks about how Gotham's known for the great villains such as Two-Face, Bane, or maybe the Joker. And Killer Moth throughout his life spent a lot of time trying to become as great as those guys. But it never ever went well being Killer Moth. He either committed financial suicide trying to become Batman's opposite, or he turned into a monstrous moth. All Killer Moth ever truly amounted to was a third-rate bad guy who'd make rent by scrounging off the leftovers of other criminals when Batman took them out. For a lot of nights, Killer Moth was stuck in a dark place, realizing that he'll never be one of the greats, and that he's pretty much a glorified parasite. But one night while drinking his sorrows away, he bumped into Harley Quinn. And Harley Quinn told him that he would have to let go of the life he had planned to find the life that'd be waiting for him. Killer Moth at first was taken aback. And in that moment, Killer Moth thought to himself that he is a parasite, but a fantastic one if anything. Seeing Batman no longer as an obstacle in his path, but a meal ticket, because someone's gotta pick up the hundreds of dollars falling on the streets, or the paintings that go missing after a thwart.
Dude, fuck yes.
My boy's gonna play it! Oh, that's so great! Oh, fuck, my boy's a
Dude, that's what I would do.
Dude, hats off to you, my man. That's what we like to see around here. He picks up dropped money after Batman leaves. That is fantastic.
So he could
That's
still
what
be a
everybody's
billionaire
thinking
at the
about.
end of this shit.
Oh, buddy, no, I want him bad. Pick him back up. I need him.
So long as Batman is there stopping the greats, Killer Moth will always be around the corner to pick up some of the leftovers. And sure, it may not be a glamorous life, and Killer Moth may never be one of the greats himself, but what's the point of living if you're never gonna be happy? Ending that little short story with a Killer Moth content with his position in life. Now, there aren't like a ton of other Killer Moth stories out there, but a couple I really liked were The Misfits, Bug and Insects, and Batgirl Year One. All really good stories that center around Killer Moth in my opinion. Misfits is a story where Killer Moth leads a ragtag team of, you guessed it, misfits, comprising of Catman, Calendar Man, and the Chancer. The whole motivation being that the group of villains are tired of being looked at as jokey characters. So they team up to show Gotham that they are a force to be reckoned with. So they together create a...
It's actual Catman. How did they not get sued?
And it's the orange color, so I don't know
how did they not get sued?
I do not know how they got sued or didn't get sued.
diabolical plot to kidnap some of Gotham's most important figures like Bruce Wayne and Gordon, to name a few. But the whole time this happens, the Misfits bumble their way through the plan and end up proving to their hostages even further that they can't be taken seriously for the life of them. It's a pretty fun story and totally worth the read. Then there's Bug and Insects, which centers around a Killer Moth desperately just wanting to be taken seriously, but everywhere he goes, people laugh at him. Until a dude named Neuron basically grants Killer Moth's wish, leading Killer Moth to morph into a monstrous moth creature. Gone the funny and light Killer Moth, and in with this new grotesque, slimy Killer Moth that craves to eat flesh. This story is absolutely amazing because it takes the goofy character of Killer Moth and turns him upside down into this horror movie monster that, like, the main character can't ever seem to get away from. How Killer Moth became normal again after this, though, I really couldn't tell you. Maybe the Flash, like, saved his mom or something and it changed the timeline. I don't know. And finally, we have Batgirl Year One, which is quite honestly the greatest Killer Moth story ever created. The story is a retelling of the origins of Batgirl alongside Killer Moth side by side with much more flavor added in. Killer Moth in this story is trying to start up a protection racket for criminals. But the only problem is nobody wants to hire the guy because he's a moron. Not only because of his crazy getup, but his rep for being the guy that got beaten up by Batgirl. Later, Killer Moth teams up with Garfield Lynns, aka Firefly, to send Gotham a message that Killer Moth has changed. But during the duo's time together, Firefly proved to be way too evil for Killer Moth, because Firefly is a psychotic pyromaniac, literally meant to be a villain. But Killer Moth kinda lacks the capabilities to be a stone cold killer himself. Ironically, with the name like Killer Moth, he didn't really have the makings to be a true villain.
So he's not a killer.
No, he's like Kite Man in the Harley Quinn show. Express more love for the motherfucker.
Yeah, dude. That's amazing. These characters, they need more representation.
Dude, a character that's running around feeding off the scraps of other guys as Batman's kicking money bags everywhere?